All right. See you live. Yeah. All right. Well,
Okay. All right. So
so
I
now,
think we are live now. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What's going on, everybody? This is the first time I am streaming with somebody called. No, we did it with you last time, but it
it was
was
only on your channel.
yeah. But
Yeah.
now we're actually streaming
And
both ways.
I do see it on my channel as well. It just popped
You
up live
do.
stream. Yep.
Oh, that's dope.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice. Nice. Okay.
All right, so let me just tweet out the Twitter link so
Yeah.
that way people on Twitter can jump in now.
Yeah.
Let me just do this real quick before we start off. And the cool thing, we'll talk about that.
I'm gonna close my WhatsApp so there isn't any like background
noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I should do that too. Okay. Great. All right, cool. So the whole thing is we're doing this with StreamYard, and I actually found out about this because when I did the live stream with the Sunnah Defense, they had me on there and they were using this, and I thought it was so fluid. Like we could just jump on and jump off, and then you can have multiple docs up. You can do up to 10 different docs at one time. Alaikum assalam rahmatullah Abir. By the way, Mahin, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the website setup, but if you click comments on the upper right, you'll be able to see the comments that are coming in from all the different sources that we are streaming to right now.
Oh, really? Because I see I'm on my YouTube page and I see that there's Irshad that said salam, but I don't see Irshad's on here. You know what I'm saying?
It might take a second delay to come in. I don't know. Maybe it might come in from my main channel. I don't know. But at least from my channel, you'll be able to see it. So
gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can just comment to Irshad as well too.
Yeah, I just commented back in my own live chat.
Yeah,
I've got that window open.
Right. Maybe I gotta find a way to do that. But anyways, yeah. So that's how I figured out about this thing. To be honest, I'm like, yo, this is great because every time we did a live thing, it was always like, man, we were cropping things in OBS and like it was like off, and then somebody jumps on, it would reset. Remember a couple of times when someone dropped off, like the screen size has totally changed itself, or if Sim did like a screen share, it would just be like totally like crazy, right? So that's kind of why I wanted to test this out. And so there is a free version of this. It comes with some limited features, but it's cool if you just want to use it for a quick thing. Like, I mean, I decided that I want to actually start, bringing people on, and I figured I wanted to do it the right way. So this is why I decided to do it. But it's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know how you feel about the platform so far. You can't do cool like little layovers like you can do on OBS, whatever. But I'm cool, man. I'm a simple guy. I don't need all the crazy stuff. I don't know how you feel about it though.
Yeah, I mean, I actually was thinking today that I only paid for this. I'm paying a $15 a month Zoom package because of like the live streaming I can do on like Facebook or YouTube. But I'm just like, I haven't been doing live streaming as much. I did a live stream yesterday. I was kind of like, because I did a show this past week with Vyasner from Indian Matchmaking. Yeah. And then I was like, I wanted to like really give a concise comparison of Muslim matchmaking versus like traditional Indian matchmaking. You know what I'm saying? So, so basically, it's just, yeah. So I was just trying it out, but I'm like, I was doing a lot of Facebook live streams, but right now I need to like get a better router. I actually have my default Xfinity router. So a lot of times on live streams, I was like losing connection.
Oh, okay. You might want to hardwire what you're doing.
Yeah, I might, but it's like right now it's like my modem, my router is downstairs, like in this area, in the living room, and my computer is in like upstairs and like it's not like directly on top, like above my my router, right? So it's like really out of the way. So I was told that if I just get a better, like the Xfinity default router is not good, and I'm paying rent on it already. So I was like, you're better off just buying a new router.
Oh, I bet.
better.
Okay. Well, alaikum assalam rahil. No, I have not revealed a surprise yet. So just stay tuned. It'll be coming soon. You guys will know. Yo, so let's talk about that for a minute. How was talking to how you say it? Vyasar?
Vyasar.
Vyasar. Okay. So it's
Do
kind of
you,
like
you
Yasser.
you watched the show, right? You watched the whole show, or watched a couple episodes?
I actually, to be honest, I watched the whole damn thing. And I know it's embarrassing to admit, but I watched the whole thing. I'm like, yo, this because you know what kind of threw me off about it was like that Aparna lady was like so conceited. I'm like, I gotta see what happens to this woman. Like she's so conceited for no reason at all. Like no reason at all. Like you are way past your prime. You have nothing to offer. I'm like, I want to know how she ends up. And then the whole idea of like this woman getting paid. I know she gets paid a lot of money to do this stuff because
Right.
they're big on that stuff. And I'm like, wow, it just intrigued me. But yeah, so how was it like talk? Wait, by the way, before we get into that, did he ever end up finding a wife or whatever? Like, did he actually get married?
No, he's still single.
Oh, damn. So the matchmaker didn't work. Okay.
Like none of the couples from the show are married. Like,
really?
Yeah. So even I looked it up. Even the one dude, the one dude who wants to marry his mom, Akshay, he like I found out, I researched it. They said a few days after they had the engagement party, he found something out about this girl, and like they broke it off.
The girl, you mean they were in India, right? These ones,
right? Yeah.
She wasn't a bad-looking girl, though. I mean, I was surprised.
But it's pretty much.
When I was looking at him, I'm like, dude, this guy is so corny. Like he's mad corny. Like I mean, like in a Fabi way. Like I'm thinking, like in a way where, like, dude, he can't let go of his mom.
He reminds me of I have a cousin who's like that, who's like now 35 and still not married.
Oh damn!
And not even that, but like not even like the conversation is. It's not like there's some people that they've been trying to get married and they're not married.
Yeah.
But like my cousin is like, I'm like, I don't even hear about him even getting leads. Like he's not even trying.
You think maybe he might be like
Oedipus complex or something else?
Yeah, something else maybe.
I don't know, man. That is a thing. Maybe that's why they don't pressure him. It's like if you know, right? You don't want to like, some people just aren't. They don't want to get married, so just let them be. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I hope it's not a bigger issue. Like maybe you might have a like LGBTQ guest on your show or something. You know what I mean? Like I hope it's none of that. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of crazy, But speaking of that, though, me and you have a mutual friend. I don't want to mention his name, obviously, but like the guy, so I think we know who we're talking about. But he just recently discovered like Muzmatch and Minder, and he's like talking in our WhatsApp group. Remember? And he's like, "Oh man, I know you're talking." I'm surprised I didn't get on this earlier. And I'm like, "Oh, is it working for you?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm talking to a couple of girls, like 6 different girls." I'm like, "Well, are you actually gonna meet them, or are you just gonna stay at home, playing with yourself? Like, what are you gonna do?" And I mean, there's guys like that too, right? Who feel like that they can be somebody they can be on the internet and not have to worry about presenting yourself. Right, because it's a lot easier just to be that way and keep it at arm's length rather than actually have to go through the motion of it.
Dude, that was like 20. But the thing is, that's like, it feels like that's because I got married in like this age of I've been married 11 years now. Pre-Tinder, pre-Minder, pre-Muzmatch, pre all this stuff, but post AIM.
Right, so there was still some online stuff, but it wasn't geared towards specifically matrimony. It was just like if you found yourself on there, you could have found someone, but it wasn't geared towards that. Right.
So to me, that's where but I remember like in late high school, early college, I would be in AIM chat groups and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'd be in like AIM chat groups and stuff and just be like, talking to like random people and then just talking, and they'd be your and you feel like them, but then you're like later. But I'm 38. I was 18, 19 years old back then, not 40 or almost 40, like some of our boys who might be engaging in this kind of behavior.
Yeah. So how do you think that changed like your outlook? Like, do you think that you let's say there was Minder and Tinder around when you was like looking around like 18, 19 years old, 20 years old.
I don't know. I'll tell you, like this is a good time to like tell a really funny story though about how me and my boys catfish somebody. If you're down for it, do you want to hear
ahead.
it?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So
Let's
like,
chop it up.
Back in, this was between the summer. So I graduated high school in '99, and then some of my best friends. So like where I grew up in Columbus, a lot of my boys, we were all like either class of '98, class of '99, or class of 2000.
Okay.
And I think I was the only guy in class of '99. So I had a few friends in '98 and a few friends in 2000. So within 3 years, we were all like in the same, more or less same age range, right? So I remember I was home in the summer of 2000, I think it was. No, summer of '99. The summer of '99, I had graduated, and I had and some of my boys, they were going to be seniors. So we were just bored. And back then, there's nothing to do. Like our weekend would, like when we would chill, it would be like going to Taco Bell or Wendy's and then going to the mall, right?
Yeah.
And then was walking around the mall. And at the time, I was trying to holler at this one chick. She used to work at the mall, and I could never get a hold of her. But and I had no car either. My friend would drive me, and I remember like before he'd come, I'd be all nervous. So I drink this like Dimetap because it's good for allergies. I would take Dimetap because it would ease me up a little bit,
Oh wow!
Relax.
Okay.
And then we go to walk around, and like she wouldn't be there or whatever. Usually, I'd walk into the store, and then I'm not gonna say what store she worked at. It'd be a dead giveaway because we're like friends on Facebook now. But anyways, I remember one day we were just goofing off, and we like found we decided to come up with this crazy idea that we were gonna catfish this one kid at my friend's high school. We just arbitrarily picked him. My friend didn't really know him, but he's like, yeah, he seems like an annoying dude. So
hold on, wait, we got hold on, sorry to interrupt you. We got a special guest here. He just jumped on.
Sims.
Oh, special guest is here. Hello. Oh, you gotta fix your audio, buddy.
Audio?
Oh wait, let me unmute you. Unmute Mike. You gotta select the audio. I don't know how that's gonna work for you.
I'm gonna mute myself really quickly just so I can handle my kids, okay?
Okay. All right, there's no problem. Yeah. Let's try to get some hey, you know what you can do though is if you click the little dot next to your whoops, hold on. Let me see if I can on the bottom with the cartwheel thing, it says cam mic settings sim. You got to click that and then go to your audio and then select the microphone that you're using. And that way it should probably do better. It's in the bottom. It should say next to your stop cam. I don't know if that works. So while we get Sim, I don't know. We'll get Sim to fix his audio while he comes back. So we'll be working on that.
All right. So you want me to keep going the story?
Yeah. Continue the story.
All right. So we just picked this dude. And his AOL screen name was like Pimp Dog 83, like PMP DAEWG, right? So what and again, he was arbitrarily selected, and my friend one of my friends went to school with. He was the same high school, right? But he didn't know him. He just like he's like, you remember in high school you'd see like a kid that you thought was annoying, but you really didn't know him too well.
Yeah,
like he's like this kid's probably a douchebag. So I think that's how he picked him. We didn't know him. So me and my other friend. So like what we did is that we ended up creating these alternate profiles, like AIM screen names. So my two friends, they took on the role of two girls that actually went to that same high school.
Okay? Oh my god.
So they started DMing him both on AIM, right? And then I played the role of a guy named Mario Jackson, who was this girl's like quote unquote pimp. And I went to school, and I was basically an avatar. I went to a school in the city, right, in Columbus City Schools, right, because we were in the burbs. And so we were basically like, my friends were like playing these girls. They were and these were real people. These weren't like fake people.
Okay. Wow.
You know what I'm saying? It's not like so they had like real. So we were using like these real names and like messaging them like, oh yeah, so and so, and they were talking about these parties and stuff. And you're like, yeah, why don't you come meet up and maybe we can like do a threesome or something, you know? And so, and my one friend would be like showing up, and he would be parked outside the supposed party house where there's no party, by the way. It's just like straight up. And this guy would be showing up.
Trap house.
Yeah, he'd be showing up and like knocking, and there's like no one answers, and there's like no party.
Hello, Shabab.
Hey, yalla shababis are here.
All right.
What are you guys doing up so late?
Causing mischief.
We're telling a story about my cat, how he catfished some dude back like 20 years
Mahin
ago.
was telling us about how we're talking about the pre-Muzz match middle age, and then it goes into the story of how Mahin and his friends were bored and catfished somebody, and so we're hearing about that story now.
Yeah. So we were basically like showing up. You know, my friend was like, he'd be parked around the corner, seeing this guy show up, and he'd verify. And he'd message him back. He's like, oh, we were there, but then, oh, sorry, we couldn't get a hold of you. Like, this going on all summer. And then occasionally what would happen is, I think I had to do this like twice. Like after, like I'd pray Juma, and then I would like go to a payphone and call this dude's house. Right?
Wow.
And I'd be like, hey, yo, is Dustin there? And I'm like, and his dad would pick up. And he's like, who is this? I'm like, you better tell Dustin to stop messing with my girls, all right? This is Mario Jackson. You know what I'm saying? Like, I heard he trying to get up in my girls. You know what I'm saying? So you better let him know, all right?
Wow.
So, and then I'll just hang up.
How long did it go for? Like, how long did it go
3
on
months.
for?
We did it for 3 months.
Oh my god.
We did it for entire summer, pretty much.
So you know what was funny is that me and Sim know somebody that went to school and studied overseas with Sheikh Amir, and I don't want to say who it is, and he's pretty prominent now. But as a student of knowledge, he was just young and stupid and bored. But he used to catfish other students of knowledge that were there and then call them out on it. And he was doing this from the middle of Syria. He was doing this.
Oh, is it somebody who's local in Chicago right now?
Yes.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's funny.
It's funny. It was how, like, I mean, and he would tell us, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, this poor student of knowledge from like Egypt thought he was gonna get married."
Yeah.
It was just funny. No, but Sim, we were talking about like, you know, like some of these. Actually, this started off because we were like, hey, we're talking about Minder and that kind of stuff, and we were talking about how, you know we all know somebody who just recently, he's our age, but he recently discovered like the Minder and Tinder, and he's like, yeah, I'm talking to a bunch of girls at the same time, and I asked him if he's ever gonna meet any of them. So I was talking to Mahin about whether, you know, how would his game change, like if Minder and Tinder were around, like, or whatever, when we were younger, because all we had was like the internet, but it was a hit or miss. Like, you didn't know if somebody was looking to get married or not. So maybe I'll ask that to you too. Like, how do you think your life would have changed if there was like Minder and like?
Oh my god, I don't think I would ever get married.
Really?
Yeah, I think you should just be playing around and messing around with as many different girls as you can. You know, I mean, I
for the love, brother.
No, I'm just saying, like, in terms of, I'm just removing religiosity and everything from the equation. Yeah. You know, I'm just saying, if you are kind of left to your own devices and have that kind of God mode power, where you're on so many different apps, meeting different, because people don't meet in person anymore. Kids don't even ask each other out. At least maybe in high school they do, but after college, I don't see anyone.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I was actually talking to someone about this earlier, early in the week, and I was saying that, you know what, if it wasn't for Islam, I don't think men would get married, like Muslim men. What would be the point? I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, of course you want companionship with a woman, but you don't have to get married to have that in today's time, right? Like, you could be a girlfriend or a life partner, but I feel like in a lot of ways, Islam Islam gave marriage the protection for women. Yeah. Like, they get to like know who the father is, they get to know like the comfort, the security, the mu'akhir, the dowry, like all that stuff. And like, you know, at the end of the day, like, you know, if all of us were single the whole life, like, dude, I'd be rich as hell. Like, I mean, I'd be like banking, bro.
I mentioned this to non-Muslims the specific exact thing that I'm like, dude, why are you messing around like stuck on one woman, and this is just being a devil's advocate. I'm not actually encouraging him. I'm just trying to get in his head and trying to figure out like what's your motivations behind it. And they got really offended, and they were like, you don't need religion for that. You don't need. I'm like, no, it just seems like you don't want. I mean, you have social norms as your guidelines. Like, why would you want to follow that? You could follow anything you want. If you don't have religion compelling you to behave in a certain way, then why would you? You know?
Yeah.
But I think it's culture, though. I think it's culture that's guiding people nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes some of the atheists will make the argument like, "Oh, do you think that you get morality from religion, and there could be no morality outside from religion?" And I don't, and that's always a tricky question because because there are a lot of people who are so-called religious, but they're immoral, right? And so, is it really from religion? And the way I look at that is this: I believe personally, a lot of the morality we have today, whether you're religious, not religious, atheist, whatever, a lot of it is shaped by religion. Like it culturally became ingrained, but it started with religion. Because if you think about it, look, if we were all cavemen walking around, right? It's survival of the fittest, bro. I don't care about anybody else. I just want it for me and me. Why would I care about anybody else around me? I'm going to do what's good for me, right? But somehow somebody had to come teach us and help us evolve and say, wait a minute, you can't do certain things. You get what I'm saying? Like, yeah. And I think that unconsciously, obviously directly affected what has evolved now into culture. And that culture is how they understand the golden rule and all that kind of stuff, right? They understand these things are getting bad. Yeah. But like, and I feel like that's just how it is with even right now with the whole marriage thing, right? Like a lot of people culturally wouldn't do certain things, but if they were left to their own opinions, they probably wouldn't even want to get married. Like they wouldn't even see anything good about it unless they could get away with it. They would do it probably. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I don't know. I guess catfishing is a problem these days, though. I don't know. I was thinking while you were talking, I'd love to get somebody in the show who was catfish, like in a bad way, like.
I don't
talk about that.
Even that big of a deal compared to the amount of guys who are being tricked by women and their Photoshop pictures, right? There's so many different. I don't know if you guys have been on Instagram lately, but women do not look like women anymore. Every girl looks like a supermodel.
You mean, you know what's crazy? When I was around back then, there was always this one pose where like people would do it like this, and it was like a fat girl that would look like someone look skinny, like it was, and like you say, oh my god, yeah, the top down one like this, and it took me like a couple of years to figure out that's why they're doing it, right? But so now apparently everybody is a YouTube tutorial expert, a makeup tutorial expert, and like they're just putting. Dude, I'm telling you, you know what? There's something we could probably watch. I'll try to find a way to talk.
One of my buddies, he was telling me about a story like that where he saw a photo like this of what he thought was a supposedly beautiful girl that he met on one of these dating apps, and he went to a coffee shop and met her, and he was like, "What the heck is this? Like, this is not the same woman I met." And
wow.
Apparently he had like gifts and stuff for her because he was like so charged up that he was just like set on winning her heart, and he was going to make sure that he locks this down, because he thought he had finally found the perfect girl, but apparently every angle was just the perfect angle that didn't describe her size. Her size was literally twice the size that
that's horrible.
On that angle, that Akshay dude from the show, the only intelligent thing he said in the entire series was, remember when Seema Auntie was like more where she was like he gave a picture and he was like, I want a casual picture, not a professional picture.
Oh yeah,
I'm like, yeah, bro, that's exact, because we know that, like, I remember when I got married a couple years out, I think the first year of marriage, I asked my wife, like, how was it posing for those pictures that you sent me? And she was like, it was really awkward. My mom made me dress up and like wear this makeup, and I'm like, 'cause I remember I got like 3 pictures, and I'm like, and it wasn't out of it wasn't anything crazy, but it was just like the stunt, because now what makes it better now is that like I almost, some people are like, well, if a girl's not on social media, don't marry her. Kind of thing. That I wish if Nabil was on the show, I would grill him on that because that's his take. But me, I'm like, no, you better be on social media so I can like do my freaking research.
Yeah,
social media
I agree
kind of.
Well, that kid was saying that the girl he met, he's trying to put 2 and 2 together. Like he's imagining the pictures that he saw online and looking at her face and just trying to recollect what he saw and put it together. And like he's trying to like decipher the magic behind the Photoshop and the other editing skills she used. And all the while he bought her this like a Starbucks cup of coffee. It was like that extra rich coffee that those lattes or whatever, those white chocolate mocha crap, at 100 calories or whatever. She's slamming it down like has no regard for the environment she's. It was horrible.
You know what? Let me try this out. So this is a cool thing about StreamYard. So I was telling Mahin, let me see if I can share a screen and let's see if we can check this video out. This is what I was talking about, by the way, while you guys are talking about these makeup things.
Like OBS
hold on. Well, it's not OBS. This is actually StreamYard. I'm actually using it, but I'm showing a YouTube video. So I don't want to share the audio just so you can kind of look at it. But let's see if you guys can see this. You guys should be able to see this, right?
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, we see. Yeah, we did.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So, like, check this out. Like, this is insane. Like, watch this. Like, these are like, look at this. She's literally pulling off her face.
That's not a man, is it?
No, it's not a man. But just look. She's literally pulling off her face.
Yeah, yeah. I just need to know if I think that she's attractive, and it turns out to be, then I end up like having a confused,
Dude, that's something else totally crazy now. That there are men that are looking like women, like now, like dressing up.
Bro,
like
that looks like that one scary thing that.
Like watch this. Yeah, watch this. Look at this. What is this? Like now, watch. And you would think, okay, look. Of course, you could be deceived by that. I'm not saying you guys should be looking at women ever, but I'm just saying, like, you could be totally deceived by that.
Bro, I don't think this counts as harm because this is like a woman who's not even has her own face on.
I don't know. Yeah, it's like pixel images.
No, it's not a real face.
And by the way, this is a Mad Mamluks, so we can be completely ratchet.
Yeah, I know.
This is like
I'm just like, look, think about it. Who was that one guy in the Arab world who was all over the papers in the West? They were saying that he
divorced this woman on like
because she looked like a different person the next morning. After.
Yeah, I know she was like black, and he was like he wanted a white girl, like she painted herself white pretty much, and like what the hell, bro? Did you see that? Look at this. Like what is going on here? This is like. I mean, all I'm saying is like that.
I mean, the thing is, this is like a caricature. This is like, it's like their makeup. Like, thing is, the problem within like South Asian communities, like the more makeup they put on, it's like they make. I'm like, no, bro. Like you go to some weddings, man. It's like, how did you become white? You were just dark the other day. I know you. Like you got powder and stuff on. You know it's all fake. And so now but for some reason, it's like, how do y'all like fall for this? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, like, I know, and I think there's like this. Like I've seen some people come to a wedding, men and women, that are dressed up more than like the bride and groom themselves. Like I mean, it's crazy. Like, and here's what I noticed too. Do you guys remember back in the days, like before we had digital cameras, we all had like these crank Kodak cameras, disposable cameras. You got one shot and you didn't know how it turned out until like weeks later after the development, right? It's a good picture, right? These people are taking like 20, 30 pictures, posing in front of everything. And like they take at least like majority of the time just taking pictures. And I can't get down with that, bro.
Yeah, I remember that with those Kodak one shot. I was 18 or something, and I would get my best shots taken on those things. Then I would take it to a scanner, right? Get a digital image of it, Then
Yeah.
I think you'd find it at Walgreens or something. I can't remember where you would actually go to get the digitized image of it, because back then scanners were too expensive, at least in 98 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And and then you would work your game on AOL Instant Messenger. You'd be like, all right,
pick for pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, man. Back, it was just kind of like that back in the days. Like, I mean, you never, and like you had that one good picture on. Like nowadays, you can find like 30, 40 pictures of anybody any given time on social media. Back then, you had like one main picture and that was it. And anytime you got a good picture, you're like, yes, I finally got it, you know? But speaking of all that kind of stuff, I don't know. I mean, I look at it like this, like that in the future, I think people are just going to keep delaying marriage. Like, I just don't think they're going to just, you know, because it's so easy just to kind of have something without actually really having it. Like, just kind of be right up there and not commit to it. Because you could be on these apps, and I'm thinking about our 40-year-old friend. He's having the time of his life right now, bro.
Oh,
I mean, how are those apps really doing something good? Are they helping people get married, or are they helping people just kind of play around? That's what I wonder. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I saw that dude's friend list or whatever on the apps. He's not in it for marriage, dude. He's in it for the game. He wants to see the hottest girl he can pick up and just know that he got it. Like, oh yeah, I can hit that, you know?
Wait. Have you see that's again the whole thing? Like, have you truly claimed that? Because if you're just simply being on the app and you're not actually meeting up with them,
right?
Like,
exactly.
Can you really claim that you're king of the hill? I don't know if you can.
You can't. I agree. Yeah,
I don't think you can. You're right, but I think in certain delusional brains, you think that, oh yeah, she's interested in me, therefore it's a notch in my belt.
Hey, Mort, send him the link to this live stream like right now, since he should know.
If he, well, I mean, I didn't mention his name.
Yeah, we didn't mention his name, but I mean, like the person like should know how we're like deconstructing his shenanigans.
I mean, I'll be happy to send him a link. If you want to put him in his WhatsApp, I mean, I'll fill it to his face too. I mean, that doesn't bother me. Yeah, no. I mean,
no, we already did kind of in a way.
So,
I think you more or less said the same thing. I was like, when are you going to get the chat?
No, I said this directly to him. I've told him, like, for you, this is just entertainment. You just like the thrill, and he pretty much admitted to it. It's like, yeah, you know, it's fun, and I love the game.
Yeah,
it's not like
but the game is like incomplete without the in-person reality.
But I'm sure from what he's told me, he's met him in person. I don't know if he, hit a home run.
Let's hope that there's no hanky-panky zina going on over there. Okay, let's just hope that he's staying clean.
All I'm saying is that for not necessarily him, but for a lot of guys, it's just knowing that there's a girl interested that normally he would have thought that was out of his league, and she's giving him attention. It's like, whoa. I can hit that, and this, even though he didn't do anything with her, but in his mind, he's just kind of notched it as a victory,
Right. Yeah. No, I get you. The funny thing is, you mentioned Thriller, right? And it kind of reminds me of this thing by remember that song by BB King, "The Thriller's Gone"? It kind of reminds me of that. Like, he's gonna end up like, when everything is said and done, he's gonna be thinking like a thriller's gone. You know what I mean? Like, it's just over. But I mean, look here, to each their own, right? I mean, if he feels comfortable and he thinks he's gonna find the one doing it that way, and if that's just the way it is now, then I can't really, I can't tell him much, But I just hope that it doesn't lead to a culture of people just not wanting to commit anymore. Because it's hard, right? When you have so many options out there, and you're like, I could do this, and like, you get bored of this app. Then what if a new app comes along? It's just kind of
both ways too. There's a lot of attractive women who are in demand, and they get so much attention from guys that they're just not. They can't decide on who's good, who's actually worth their time and effort, because they just get flooded on those apps. The moment they join those apps, they have to I mean, if I was an attractive girl, I would probably put a bad picture of me, or maybe possibly an unattractive woman that kind of looked like me, and see which guys would be interested in me, kind of to filter out the trouble, or maybe like put down that, hey, I have like 5-6 kids or something.
So let's get controversial here. Since some people I mean, what do you guys think about people saying on that app that even the ones who are good looking have something wrong with them? Like they got like either crazy personalities, or they got something like there's something shady about them, or like they were messing around and then like they ended up just jumping on the app later on, right? What do you think about that, Mahi? You think it's actually accurate?
I mean,
like,
I don't know. Like, you mean on the Minder app?
Yeah, or anyone like Tinder, Minder, whatever, or like or even Muzzmatch. Like basically, these are girls that have something wrong with them. Like they're like desperate to get married. Like they can't find somebody around them.
I don't think that's fair. I think that it's easy to do a background check though. To be honest, you remember what the funniest thing is? I remember one of our boys too, someone else who we have a WhatsApp group with. He's always like talking about Muzzmatch, and him and his brother were talking to the same chick on Muzzmatch.
I can't imagine that, man.
Like they didn't know, and they were like, but like that girl was normal. It wasn't like she was like someone who couldn't make it. I mean, she was exploring her own options.
Wait, are they twin brothers?
No, like an older brother and a younger brother.
How much is the age difference?
No, but they look completely different. They're completely like if you know the two brothers, they're completely different.
Okay. What's the age gap between them?
I don't know. Probably like 3 or 4 years.
Oh, it's not too bad. Okay,
not too bad.
I'm thinking like a 7-8 year. I'm like, wow.
I don't think so. No, I think it's like 3-4 year gap. But like they're very different. Like one brother is like a very geeky kind of like academic nerd type, like like in grad school. The other one is like into fitness. Like he's pretty jacked. The younger brother, you know what I'm saying? So like, it's like different types.
So it's kind of like. It's kind of like that movie Twins where you have like Arnold and Danny DeVito.
Yeah, pretty much. And they didn't know about it. They didn't know at first, right? Because and then they and I think they were just talking to each other, and then we're like, wait a second, we were talking to the same girl.
That's crazy.
And they mutually decided to both like kind of to like not proceed, right? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Just to like but I it also didn't seem like it was. There was much interest either way on both that end. But it is what it is. I don't know. I think it's another angle. It's theoretical on my end at this point. I mean, unfortunately, like there's Hafardine. Sim, you know about Hafardine. You did some work with Baba Ali on that, right?
Oh yeah. I reviewed his website and everything.
What are your thoughts on?
No, I got access to the website when I was helping with the booth over there at ICNA. It's a pretty cool website. I mean, I think that the theory is right. I just don't know like what. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if anyone really, looks at the way I do.
Here's the thing, okay? And this is something I told Baba Ali as well. Is that the main crutch or the main drawback of sites like Hafardine or any other of those type of websites is that it's competing against people who want matches now. They don't want to wait. They don't want to go through a personality profile test, and they don't want to go through all the hoops and stuff that's related to. At the end of the day, the matchmaking apps exploit the most basic elements of attraction, which is, good looks. There's so many people who any of us can say that, while, in working or in other social gatherings or whatever, you see different elements of attraction between genders, right? It's not necessarily their looks, but when you find that kind of attraction, if you what I want to say is if you had taken that person's picture and you were able to give it to that person you were interested in, you probably would have passed it off.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think Baba Ali does recognize as well too, though, that like the like for males, attraction is one of the biggest things. I mean, males generally tend to do that. I think a lot of times what happens, I could be wrong here, but I think sometimes some of the women, like, they just get like feel like in the moment of loneliness, they just want to get on and see what's available, and they may not even be ready to get married. They just want to see what's available. Like, so they don't feel lonely in that moment, right? Even men too, maybe, right? But they're not actually serious about having to go create a profile, answer all these questions. They just want to feel like, oh, there's still potential out there. So I'm not a complete lost case. I don't know if that makes sense, but they just want to see, that there's still an option for them to get married. And I think that's why they don't want to have to go through the whole process of making a profile and then just filling out all those questions and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know how you guys feel about that, but it is what it is, I guess. But speaking about, I think we talked about this marriage thing. It's kind of, I hate those things where it just become like strictly about marriage because it gets boring about men and women all the time. But let me ask you this though. So I don't know. We had that show yesterday, right? With the HT guys, and I don't know, Mahin. What was? Let's start with you. What was your take on the whole episode itself?
I think first of all, you need multiple episodes. What happened to Sim?
If I got disconnected, I'll probably jump back in.
As soon as we said HT, he like disappeared.
Yeah, they probably sabotaged his computer.
Like in theory, it's all fine, right? But for me, it's like I think people want practical solutions that they can see. And
Right.
I think that's where, and I think a couple moments where I was like, because he was talking about, because one of the critiques that people have about HT is like, okay, what have you established? Because it's like credibility, right? Okay, if you're going to talk about a Khilafah, or a Caliphate, what is your track record in establishing institutions that are much, much, much smaller, right? Because you're talking about a Caliphate is obviously it's like essentially like an empire. That's the goal, right? If you like, so I think that's what people want to see. And then when I said like, well, what did the companion, and I was really surprised when he says, well, the companions didn't establish any institutions. Right. So I'm like, but like that does okay, but they had credit. But I'm like, they had credibility amongst their people. And
wait, I mean, didn't the Prophet send people like Musab bin Umair to Medina, right? And then there were other ones that were sent out to Yemen and to other areas. Like he sent them as emissaries to teach them and to make to not. They weren't necessarily going out there to seek a military, but they were there to educate them about Islam.
It seems to me that like there's this perspective that it has to be done exactly like what the companions did. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it has to, but I'm like, I think that fails to recognize the state we live in. Like, so for example, we don't have slaves today, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But Abu Bakr Siddiq, I mentioned an example, like he freed slaves as part of the, way, because that's a slave society, and he started freeing the slaves.
Right.
It's not an institution, but it's something as an example. It's because you have to win the hearts. That's what it's about.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
I mean, that's how I feel about it. I think it's always a battle of the hearts and minds. And and sometimes it requires some force, and sometimes it requires just complete softness. Right. And like you see different examples of that throughout the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ.
Right.
And sometimes he was very like adamant and be like, nope, you know what, you got to be on our way, or there's no other way. And sometimes he was like, you know what, like for example, Abdullah bin Salul, the guy who basically was a hypocrite, like he basically ratted out the Prophet ﷺ, right? Yeah. And he told the people in Mecca that they were going to come, and the Prophet still accepted him back with a soft heart, right? But then you have other people where he just straight up said, no, you got to get rid of him, right? You know what I mean? Like Ka'b ibn Ashraf, right? So why do we have that different viewpoint? And I feel like it's because there's time and place, right? To make it sound like the companions were doing all one thing, at one point, just black and white doesn't make sense. And here's the other thing too. They are saying that, that you have to make, there needs to be nusra, like there needs to be some kind of support from some military, right? But the way I look at it is like, yeah, that might have been one portion of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's da'wah, but I don't think it was the only part of it. And I think he used multiple avenues in order to reach the people simultaneously. It wasn't like, oh, okay, you just do this. And then if that fails, then you do this. And if that fails, no, he did it simultaneously, depending on the groups, right? And I feel like they don't want to, they'll say that if somebody else is doing it a different way, that's why they failed. And if anybody, they have a fail safe where they say, oh, if we failed, it's because, either we didn't fail because we attempted it.
We didn't quit and we didn't sell out.
Yeah.
No matter if there's no effects. It's like you have an endless timeline of, you basically have indefinite as long as you don't quit. And I think that's where I'm more like what I found is that so to me it seems like there's a disconnect, of course, because to me, like, somebody asked, like, one of my friends was listening to the episode because he actually, like, a lot of cities in America, Chicago is a place where his was pretty prevalent, right? I did not hear about his at all in Columbus, Ohio. Okay, they didn't exist. I heard about them theoretically from Spubs, so obviously a very, like, anti-his
reputation.
Yeah. But it was, like, irrelevant. I read about it and I was like, okay, and so I remember the first time I met his brother, one of the figureheads in Chicago, I literally asked him, like, yeah, I heard that Sheikh bin Baz said that you're from the 72 deviant sects. Because there was literally a fatwa, I think from Sheikh bin Baz, that somebody, it was like Islam Q8 or something, right? Right. The idea. Because the methodology, the Salafis would say that, like, the methodology of the Anbiya, the prophets, is the call to Tawheed, right? First and foremost. And his methodology, because they say that for example, are soft on the Shia. They will acknowledge, they will include different groups within, like, that thing. So, I mean, I don't know how convincing it was, but, like, what I found really interesting, we didn't talk about it at all, is that, and I found this afterwards, they made a freaking trailer for our podcast.
Saw that. Oh my god! And I didn't mind that, but what bothered me the most, that the most anticipated show of 2020, like, we didn't even say any of that. I didn't even know this was happening until Saturday that day. No, I'm being dead serious. Like, I had no idea even. I didn't even know the guy was Hizb. I thought it was just some guest we had. And then, like, come to find out, like, the last minute, it's a Hizbut Tahrir guy. And, like, and then when you sent me that trailer, I'm like, wait a minute, Sim, did you make this trailer? Because I had no idea, like,
we had this talent.
Yeah, or not even that, like, that we were going all out like that for this thing. I had no idea, and then come to find out it was somebody else. And, like, that, and I didn't really mind it, but that thing about, like,
it's kind of corny. It's a little, it's fine. Like, to be honest, like, if we had that, I wish we had that for every episode. I wish we could get that kind of support for every episode, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. But the reason why I feel it's kind of corny is because, honestly, I feel like we're nobodies, right? Like, to say that he's coming on like the Mad Mamluks, I mean, we got, okay. I mean, it's not like he's in front of, like, the White House or something, He's like
the most anticipated podcast. Yeah, because if people, and it's also, it's kind of presumptuous in the sense that, like, you don't know how a show's going to be before.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying? Like, we always be like, we don't know what's gonna be getting into, right? To me, there was nothing, like, mind blowing about the show, right? He's not the first guy we've had on. We had Ali Harfouche. I think that Ali, was pretty interesting overall. Ali Harfouche, he's been on a couple of times, right? We had the brother Burhan Hanif from way back in the day.
Oh yes, I remember that early episode.
Early episode,
from the
right?
Basement in Glen Ellen, not even like
And then we've had some other brothers who are, like, affiliated with Hizb, but, like, they didn't really talk about Hizb too much. We had Uthman Badr, Dr. Uthman Badr, but, like, he I don't think he's a doctor yet. He's working on his PhD from Australia. He used to be the spokesperson for Hizbut Tahrir Australia, and that was a really good episode because that was about, like, free speech and, like, liberalism and deconstructing liberalism. But I guess this was a very direct Hizbut Tahrir, and I think the question, I talked to some people offline, and they want to see somebody counter, like, almost, if he was, I'm sure Mazen would be up for it because I know he's down for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but here's my problem. It's tricky to counter them because what are you gonna say? Like, they're gonna say, well, you don't understand the Quran and Sunnah the way that we do, right? I mean, like, this is the evidence that the Prophet on this. Well, yeah, I mean, like, look, let me give you an example. Like, when we were talking offline, and Sim talked about the jihadis and what they were doing. The Hizb never really directly condemned them, right? They just kind of said, okay, well, they're okay too, but we believe that this is our method is okay. Is the better one.
Is the best
right?
way.
Is the best way. Right, but it's not really like there's a point behind it. It's just like, okay, we just still believe that our method is the best way, but that's still valid too. I mean, we still allow you to go, and we're telling our members, encouraging our members to go, right? Which was kind of like, okay, well, then why? Then how do you even have a? Where's the debate in that? Like, how do you? If someone's willing to say, yeah, that side's right, but we're not going to change our mind because we believe our side is the best way, then how do you even? What's the point of having a debate? You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like that the people that I've spoken with who have a problem with
special guest.
Hey, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. ازيك يا عم?
Sorry, did I disturb you guys? Muzzy?
No. We're deconstructing our episode from yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to hear the whole thing, man. But I think you guys asked some really good questions, and I think dude actually did a good job of answering, man.
Man, I knew you were his sympathizer. That's why I wouldn't have
you on. You are a khariji, bro. No, but listen. So you know what? Let's ask you, Amma, since you got. We're gonna put you in the hot spot now since you got here. Oh my God!
Come on.
No, I want to know, Amma, what's your opinion on the HT in general?
Sure, you got a list.
Oh, you got no comment now.
No comment. Oh, I knew you're a sympathizer, huh?
Yeah, I know.
Or is he frozen?
No, he's not frozen. I see his eyes moving.
Really? Okay.
Oh no, I think he got frozen. I think I don't know why.
Yeah, so I think. Sorry. No, I have a few opinions about HT. I think the reason why I respect. The element of respect exists with me and HT is I don't know any group in the world that makes a claim of establishing the Khilafah and say that they have a step-by-step benchmark that needs to be met for that. A majority of the groups will say, yes, Islamic governance is a fard in Islam and it's something that has to happen, but there's no real method of getting there. So the reason why I respect the Hizb the most the element that I respect from them the most is that they make a claim and they give you the step-by-step of how to get it, and they try their best to back it up by the Quran and the Sunnah. That is what I respect a lot.
Okay, so now considering that, is there any? I mean, my problem is like I feel like they claim like their way is the only one that's on the Quran and Sunnah, and like for example. In the last episode, I don't know how much you saw, but they were very quick to constantly pick on the Ikhwan and say, oh, you see what happens when you're not upon the real way? This is what happens when you're not upon the fake way.
Where you have gradualism, for example.
Right, where we were talking about, we would get in power and then we would slowly but slowly change the system once we do grassroots. And they're saying, well, it's all or nothing, right? That's the idea. They want to make Nusra with the military, getting stuff from the military, and then totally flip the switch, right? And say, okay, boom, now we got the major people in power. But my problem with that is like, now it's almost like, as much as you say, oh, we respect them, we love them, right? But it's almost like delegitimizing their work. When you say, well, that's a nice try. I mean, we love you guys, but, we knew this was going to happen because you guys are just completely wrong, right? So I feel like it's kind of, you know what I mean, Amr?
I know exactly what you mean, but I think that's the nature of their scope, right? And in defense to both sides, where I disagree with them and I agree with them. The part that I agree is that if you want to make a change, you have to, their claim is that they have to show the Ummah with the Quran and Sunnah which ways to get to the Khilafah as fard and which ways to get it are the proper way and which ways are not.
Yeah, right.
But you have to make that clear which pathway. Now, is it a matter of fiqh? The thing that I didn't hear is that in the Sharia, you have to understand that are they re-establishing the Khilafah? Because if they are, then there can be difference of opinion on how you go about bringing it. If you're establishing, what Muhammad ﷺ did was establish it for the first time. So the original establishment, that's what Muhammad ﷺ did. Now to re-establish it, that's where fiqh differences can happen. right? And at the core of it, I don't know if you guys discussed this because I didn't watch the whole thing. There is a difference of opinion of how you would bring it about Islamically, and the Hizb will tell you it's a part to bring it. It's a part of your aqidah to believe that Allah's rule is the only rule on this world. How it comes about is a matter of fiqh, which means that there's differences of opinion. But in their defense now, in Ikhwan's defense, Ikhwan, I think, is saying that since it's a difference of opinion on how it comes about, it's a matter of fiqh. This is the methodology that we're adopting based on what's best for the fiqh of this time. But what the Hizb did was, in defense now to the Hizb, is they have done so much work as far as literature and putting out why their way is the best way. No one comes close to that because that's all they do, and that's what actually they should be doing. And what they do is, this is how we get to the Khilafah. This is how it's done. Step 1, step 2, step 3. So much literature, so detailed. But that's what they specialize in. And in their defense, I think nobody else does it like them in that manner. Now, is there the best way to bring it about? That's a whole different subject, right?
See, but when you say they provide the best way to go, the comprehensive way, like if you're writing articles about what the monetary system would look like in the Khilafah, to me, I'm sorry, I'm not. I don't think it's an appropriate right now. I don't think it's relevant right now, right? When you have people that are like literally Muslims that are, they are starving, and forget about that. Forget that they're starving spiritually. Like they're struggling to just hold on to La ilaha illallah. And you're sitting here writing an article about, what gold and dinar will be used and whose face will be on the stamp. I mean, I think like it's a cool thing to have. It's a cool thought process to be in. Don't get me wrong. It's very interesting. But is it relevant to the average Muslim?
Before you answer that, Sheikh Amr, I want to ask you to clarify something. Is there a difference between like establishing the Khilafah, as was done by the Prophet ﷺ, right, versus a reestablishment? So do we have to look at? So for example, like if we like because if you look at the history of Islam, right? Is it like the Umayyad Caliphate? I'm not a history buff, so I don't know. But the Umayyad Caliphate is part of a continuation of the original Khilafah established by the Prophet ﷺ, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. But then what about something like the Ottoman Caliphate? Was that a reestablishment or was that a new establishment?
Well, there were lots of different people who were there was lots of. So let's backtrack a little bit, right? There's some people that believe that the Khilafah, that the original Khilafah that Muhammad ﷺ ended with Umar radiallahu anhu. I'm not saying I agree with this, right? And then there's some that say that it ended with Uthman radiallahu anhu, and there's some that said that it ended with Ali radiallahu anhu, right? And these are some legitimate scholars in the past that believe that after Umar radiallahu anhu passed away, that's where all the fitna started, and everything else after that was just lots and lots of fitan, like Muhammad ﷺ projected, which was going to happen. So some of them actually were bold enough to actually make the claim that the Khilafah ended with the Khulafa al-Rashidin. Let's just say that that's one claim, right? And then within that idea, there's ideas too, right? And then you have those people who believed and understood that the Muslims were still ruling to the best of their ability with the understanding of what Muhammad ﷺ established, but they ended up with monarchies where sons would start inheriting the Khilafah, which Muhammad ﷺ came to remove, right? Monarchies, but nonetheless, they had a spirit of Islam and ruling by what Allah had revealed, and that was, in essence, the backbone of all of their policies, even though it didn't work out like it was supposed to, because it's a human problem. It has nothing to do with Islam, right? So the Ottomans, while all these khulafa were in this world, there was many other people that claimed khilafas in different parts of the world, and there was differences amongst them, which humanly happens. And then there may have been 3 at one time that were happening, and then from the Abbasis, separations that happened, and so all of those happened, and there wasn't always one Khalifa, even though there was supposed to be, throughout Islamic history for over 1400 years. Because in the optimal situation, it would be after Ali radiallahu anh, then there would be one Khalifa for the entire Muslims, and then his governors and his walis. And that was what was supposed to happen, or that would be the best practice. But that didn't always happen, right? Until when you had the Nizam of India, and you had, even before him, you had other people that claimed to be Muslim rulers, until it became just states, and those states started breaking up. And I'm just completely fast forwarding. So, but to answer to your question, just whatever I explained generally, even with the Uthmanis, they believed that they were the Khulafa, and many of the Muslims understood that there were other Muslim states, but the Ottomans are generally understood to be, for the most part, representation of the Muslims, right? So the reestablishments always were occurring in the Muslim world.
So the reestablishments allow multiple caliphates.
They don't.
They don't.
That's what happened. No, they're not supposed to be multiple caliphate in the Muslim.
Oh wait, did they call them? Wait, to my understanding, people didn't call themselves the Khalif. They would say they are like just either kings of a certain region or a governor, Umara, or whatever they have. But they had like allegiance. They would say that we are symbolically allied with the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah, so there were some people who didn't ally with them, but they claimed to be from the Muslims because.
But you know how I look at that though, because it's funny that not to just digress a little bit, but just when I'm looking historically and say how history repeats itself, that was simple. That was exactly how the situation was before the rise of the Ottoman Empire with the Abbasid, right? The Seljuk Empire, they were the real might, as far as military. And the Abbasid were just the remnants of a Khilafah, and they were just symbolically in Baghdad. But it was really they had no authority at all.
Yeah, the authority was pretty weak, yeah.
Right. And so it was just symbolically that, we have someone that's over there. It's our history because that was just where it was. But and the Ottoman Empire ended up becoming like that too, where the center of the Islamic Empire is in Istanbul. And, theoretically it's that place, but really they have no say over us, right? We're kind of independent and autonomous. It's interesting how it works that way. So I guess what Mahin's trying to ask is, and maybe I could be wrong here, Mahin, but I guess what you're saying is there could be multiple leaders who represent their states and still be that could still be a contribution to a revival of a true Islamic state.
That's because, for example, like you had the Khilafah, the Sokoto Caliphate of Sheikh Uthman Dan Fodio, right?
Right.
At the same time as the Ottoman Caliphate, you had the state of Andalusia.
Yes, exactly.
They were never under the Ottoman Caliphate, right?
They weren't. There was actually some divisions amongst them. Between them and the Ottomans, and even some Muslims of Baghdad, right?
So I think that my question is more in lines of like, because the Hizb talks about like there's the Jama'ah. The Prophet ﷺ talks about that whoever does not like die upon with the Jama'ah dies upon like a state of Jahiliyyah. It's kind of like Jahiliyyah, right? Not being disbelievers, but like it's the seriousness of it.
Yeah.
So the question is, are those other states kind of under Jahiliyyah because they're not tied to the Jama'ah? Because you can't have multiple Jama'ah.
Yeah. So there's a few ways of understanding that hadith, right?
Right.
The first is that you separate yourself from the believers as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You don't consider, and you consider the Muslims, whatever. Let's just say for today's sake, you consider the Muslims backwards and you want to disassociate yourself from the Muslims. You want to have nothing to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a group of Muslims or a state of Muslims that say, we want to have nothing to do with these Muslims. And we want to have, we don't believe in unity with them. That's partially what the hadith is referring to also, right?
Yeah.
And then on a general sense is that Muslims, they have allegiance to an Amir. Mm-hmm. They can have their own governances, mm-hmm. right? That are watched over, if I want to say, by governors, even appointed by the Amir himself. But if not, there is a type of disunity if there's multiple amirs, right? And just to give us some perspective, look, we all heard about the hadith, and I'll get back to your point, but the hadith of Rasulullah where a lot of groups, not just the Hizb, let's just be fair, a big portion of groups, they use this hadith to either give themselves that Muslims just have to be the best that they can be, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will do the rest. Which there's a truth to that. You try to be the best you can, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will do to the rest. Look, this is just a translation of the hadith, right? And as soon as I start saying this, you guys don't know this hadith. Right? The hadith of Rasulullah is that there will be prophethood as long as Allah wills it to be. Then He will remove it when He wills. Then there will be khulafa on the prophetic method. And Allah will will it, and it will be for as long as Allah wills. Then He will remove it when He wills. Then there will be biting kingship, meaning some tyrannical kingship, for as long as Allah wills.
Yeah.
And then He will remove it when He wills. Then there will be oppressive kingship, for as long as Allah wills. Then He will remove it when He wills. Then there will be khilafah upon the prophethood of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And then He remained silent. Right? So this hadith is utilized by everybody. For those people like the Hizb who are actively working, those like Jama'at Islami or Ikhwan who are indirectly working for the Khilafah. And then you have groups that are just saying, hey, we're just going to wait for the Mahdi, and we're just living in time of fitna, and Allah always has a way of working with the Ummah, right? So as far as us being divided Islamically, no, that's not supposed to happen. We're not supposed to have multiple people that are claiming to be khulafa. Why do you think Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, in a phase in his life where he said there's going to be no madhahib anymore, why did he make that mention? Is because in the haram, you could even go to Egypt. Egypt has some remnants of this. In the haram, there'd be 4 jama'ats happening simultaneously of all the 4 different madhahib in the haram itself. In Muslim history,
they each had their own mihrab. Yeah,
and they would all be, even though that's not Islamically allowed. You're not allowed to have multiple jama'as at the same time for Salatul Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, Fajr. You're not allowed to do that. That's haram, actually.
Yeah,
right. Because
so let me ask you this. Let's back up. Is there because generally when you're learning Islam, right, you learn about the 5 pillars, you learn about the fiqh of tahara, you learn about all these things. Is there an implicit command from the Prophet ﷺ to say, listen, you as laymen have to go and establish a khilafah or the hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth? Is there any kind of evidence that would a common layman would read and say, okay, this is a command upon me to go and do this?
Yeah, so I don't know about the common layman. If there's a command, right? I know there's some things that are direct and some things that are indirect for those people who are in power and the responsibility they have to establish Allah's deen in this world, right? Because Rasulullah is going to address those people who are competent and capable of doing the task. But the laymen themselves, obviously, and everybody else, which I don't know if you guys discussed this in the podcast again, because I have to watch the whole thing, but the approach is that we don't only work just for the Khilafah and leave everything else as Muslims. The claim should be that you have to work on multiple fronts simultaneously. You have to work for establishing Allah's deen, and we'll leave that open for right now, whatever fiqh, whatever methodology, which is based on fiqh, and you follow how that comes about. The other is purification of the soul. It has to be happening simultaneously. Because if you're trying to establish Islam, and you have no connection with Allah, how are you going to succeed in doing that, even on your own individual level, right? Mm-hmm. And you should have, and every Muslim should be seeking knowledge, as Muhammad ﷺ mentioned in hadith. So all these things have to happen simultaneously. Now, the question I think you're asking is, where does a layman fit into this puzzle as far as establishing the deen, right? So the people who are responsible, who have power, that should be on their minds, and they should be losing sleep to say, am I doing the best in my ability to make Allah happy as being the ruler of this country or being the governor of this province or whatever the case is. The layperson, where they fit in is that I feel uncomfortable that I'm living in a situation where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being neglected, and what can I do on my level to make it easier for those people who are in power to bring about Allah's deen. So look at the hadith of Rasulullah as we're getting closer to I think the issue which was discussed in the podcast is that Rasulullah he said, give nasiha to your brother whether he's an oppressor or he's oppressed, or help. Unsur akhaka, right? Help, come to the rescue of your brother, who's oppressed or who's an oppressor. They said, the oppressed we know, Ya Rasulullah. But how do we help our brother who is an oppressor? He said, give him nasiha. Right? So this covers the spectrum of both sides. You have the ruling party and you have the layman class.
Yeah, I guess the reason why I ask is because we kind of touched on this in a little bit. Where
he talked about it, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is that where it comes to the place of confusion about a regular person who's just living, like, well, what do you want me to do about it? You know what I mean? Like, okay, you can keep reminding me at the end of the day, but I have no control over that.
Well, that's like, kind of what so here's the thing. So he did mention it, first of all. He did say that there has to be a cultural process, right? There's like 3 phases. Stage 1, you're culturing the people. Stage 2, you have an organization that you work under. That's the Hizb. So they're in stage 2, but stage 1 is overlapping, right? And then stage 3 is the establishment of the Caliphate, the state, so we're not at stage 3. So and 1 keeps going. You're always going to be culturing people, right? And part of the culturing process, and he didn't say explicitly, but I could gather, is that when they are educating people on like why voting is haram or voting is kufr, whatever, I don't know what they say, but like generally they do not vote. Like, right? That's how people know that. The average Muslim knows Hizb as them annoying cats outside DIC who are passing out flyers, and they see him every 4 years.
Do you know voting is kufr? Like, I mean,
kind of thing, right?
And I think, Mahin, you brought up an interesting thing because you asked them a question. Like, do they, in that beginning phase 1, he asked them very directly, do you teach, like, is the curriculum or platform the same for everyone, or does the Hizb recognize that there are different levels of people's religiosity and understanding of Islam? Like, I guess what the point was is, let's say somebody who doesn't even know the basics of prayer, and you're telling him about khilafah, right? About voting is kufr, right? Is that the right thing to be teaching him? Or what he asked him is, do they outsource this to
I said, do you outsource it? Right. Because like, if you don't have like, because he says his is an organization of lame. It's like, he said it more or less. They probably have, they might have mashayikh, etc. But in general, it's a organization of laymen, who are carrying this message, right? So I'm like, that's fine. So then are there people, because I mean, like, even Mazen himself, he's outsourcing his knowledge to Azhar. Azhar is not promoting Hizbut Tahrir, right? So he's outsourcing his own knowledge to Azhar in a way, you know what I'm saying? So I think like he would have.
I think what he was doing was I think they recognized the Hizb isn't known for necessarily scholarship, and so by attending Al Azhar, you kind of put a badge, an accolade next to your name and say, I'm an Azhari now. So I'm a scholar. So now what I'm saying about the Hizb. But at the same time, what the funny thing was, Amr, is that he says that I can tell you as someone who studies Al Azhar, or, there's nothing better than Al Azhar out there, that they're not really teaching you about what you should be doing today for the Khilafah or anything like that, right? Yeah. Kind of like discrediting the scholarship as if it's not really worth anything. And I was telling Mahin the other day, like, the work that regular scholars do for everyday common Muslims is vitally important. The fiqh issues, the inheritance, the marriage, those kind of things that really affect a regular lay Muslim every day, like day to day, to me is far more important than. Yeah.
I think one of the I think that one of the contentions I've had. So I've spoken to some of my friends who are like maybe studying at like local institutes, right? They would critique Hizb and they would say that like there is siyasa sharia, right? The political implication, like the fiqh of politics and the fiqh of governance, but it's like an advanced subject, right? It's like you have to understand, like you go systematically, you build on it. So their contention with Hizb is that they're teaching an advanced subject and teaching it to the laymen who don't understand their basic fiqh aqidah stuff yet, right? that's their problem. It's not like, because nobody, as I said in the show, like today, people don't have an aversion. Like you ask the Mashayikh or anybody, no one's gonna say the Caliphate is batil or we shouldn't stray for the Caliphate. No one's saying that. Like that should not be an objective, an ideal.
Unless you're a Madkhali who loves Wali
You know what I'm saying? But I think that's where it's like essentially like where you have people like Abu Khadija has like a 30-minute like primer on Jarh wa Ta'dil on YouTube. When reality, Jarh wa Ta'dil is like an advanced subject that you don't teach somebody as a layman, right? So I think this is like the whole problem that people have is that like go ahead. So that's a contention. That's one of the contentions that I didn't really bring up, but like since you kind of laid it out, is like this idea of siyasa sharia is kind of like an advanced topic.
Yeah,
you've got to go in order.
We used to have that same contention too. I mean, there's a lot of things to unpack here. The first thing is the layperson generally, and I think this happens with all change. A majority of lay people will not be a part of any change. They're going to follow whatever the power structure is asking them to do, especially if they see benefit in it and they have bread to eat. So the general layperson, I think that they do talk to lay people. That's true, because the system of bringing change for them in America and the Western world is a completely different method that's used in the Muslim world. That's the first thing. So to answer your question, the layperson is not the goal, but it doesn't hurt to affect the layperson as far as them teaching their ideas to the layperson. The second thing is, as far as him mentioning Al-Azhar, like there's a lot of teachers, especially I still remember in my last year when the whole Arab Spring happened and people were speaking pretty freely. In the walls of Azhar, you could talk about whatever you want, right? The teachers, academically, you could talk about everything pretty openly. But when the Arab Spring happened, teachers were a lot more open. And they started mentioning this word khilafah. They started, before they weren't really mentioning it, right? So there are instructors there who would encourage students to research siyasa sharia, but the situation that they live in, that they're so scared to talk about it outside of the walls of Azhar, from what I've witnessed, or just in small closed circles, it just scares the heck out of them, because it just brings back nightmarish memories to them with just 30, 40 years ago of what was happening in
India. And I was telling Mahin after, so I think part of the problem is that they talk about these things, siyasa, and then the sharia and the hukum of Allah, and the fact that, you have to get nusra from the military. It's almost like they're creating this culture of young people who feel like there's no other way besides actually getting military support.
Yeah.
And I feel like as a young person, you can definitely take that and confuse that with saying, hey, you know what, we've got to do something physically here. Yeah. Right? Like we've got to go out and it's almost like, and I feel like that there's that line between being a jihadi and just being strictly political is blurred, and they don't really define that. And I think a lot of young people, I'm not saying they're encouraging jihadis. I'm not saying that. I just don't think that they have taken a clear enough stance on it. And a lot of young people, and specifically people that we may have known at a younger age, went that route because they got tired of just hearing about Khilafah and watching videos of Muslims being oppressed in the world and all that stuff and oppressive rulers. Their natural progression was, okay, well, if we have to take over the military, then if we can't get Nusra, then let's just take it over from them. You know what I mean? Like that's how a young person is going to think. And I feel like that does so much damage because, I'm not saying I can't, like groups like ISIS, I can't say they come out of just one group in Islam, right? Like there's multiple, these people come from a diverse background, right? Multiple people from different backgrounds that were influenced in one way or another by some ideologies, and that led them to this, ultimately this more extreme version of it, right? But that starts somewhere, right? Yeah. I feel like it's kind of like, that's my concern, because a lot of young people will just get confused about that. It's very emotional, right? If you remember some of the stuff we saw when we were younger, oh, look at these videos of this, look at that, look at what's happening there. How do you feel about that? Oh, brother, how are you going to go there when, your people are suffering, right? I mean, stuff like that makes you, it's true. But I'm saying the guidance on how to react and what to really expect of that, how to make it out, is not really there.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? I feel like that's concerning for me.
Yeah. I think that, like you said, there's that fine line. That's why I think it's really important that if you're involved let's just say somebody who's a part of Hizbut Tahrir, they should definitely have a protocol. So, youth won't go into that direction that you're speaking of, the jihadi direction, like the lack of understanding of true Islam. They should have an element of purification of the soul, which the Hizb refers to as nafsiyya. They don't really refer to it as tazkiyah, which is fine. It's just a synonymous word. Now, one thing I think which is really important, which I used to have confusion in, but it's actually very, very simple. I think that Mazen could have clarified something very easily, is the Hizb themselves will very heavily focus on siyasa shari'ah. Number one, to show the people that they're teaching, or the ummah, that they've understood this topic very well. And for the most part, I think in the Muslim world, they have, because that's their focus. Let's say that you have, like 20 volumes of fiqh. Their main understanding is in that, which I think they've done a decent job in understanding that element of it, right? In all fairness, I think we have to be fair on that level. But I want you to think about something else now, Mahin. Check this out. Their paradigm of Islam is completely different than what's generally taught in knowledge institutions. Like, think about it from level one. Their idea is not supposed to be considered advanced. Like siyasa shari'iyah, when we talk about that, yes, as a fiqh topic, that's advanced. But their idea is that Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's prophethood, its main goal was to establish Allah's deen in this world. His goal wasn't a step-by-step progression. Like, the reason for prophethood was to establish Allah's deen in this world, so shirk couldn't happen. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's their paradigm. It's not that, you have to be a good person first, and then you get, people will never think that you're, even though that's all a part of the seerah. That's all what we consider, like, it was inevitable that Allah gave all the Quraysh chances so they couldn't reject Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because he was the perfect person even before prophethood.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, but for the Hizb, it's more like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought about the Prophet of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam so Islam could be established. So that was the main goal. What we're taught generally in Islamic, and I think that's the vastness of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam seerah, right? But how institutions are generally taught in like the past 300 years is that focus very, very much on speciality of jurisprudence, and then on other specialities and other specialities, until you have this person who's very, very well read, which is awesome, but there's no real zeal in them to establish Allah's deen in this world. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
How many people do you know they're actually academic, but they actually have a zeal to establish Allah's deen in this world?
Okay, so I think so I see their point. I think there has to be because the people, but it goes back to the credibility thing of the individuals in like today,
that
right? Because the Prophet ﷺ and the companions had credibility, right? And then they built credit, and they were also the one unit, right? So you didn't have because we're like a loose confederation now. You'll have like somebody who's like a great Muslim in this group, and then there's somebody who's a great Muslim and doing something else, and they'll be cool with each other, but it's not like a unified effort. It's not, because you have all the institutions, right? Let's just say, for example, like this podcast, right? Is podcasting going to establish the Caliphate? No. That is not the objective of this podcast, or any podcast, right? So one could argue that unless the podcast itself was everything, unless it was all about, that's all we talked about, was the Caliphate. You know what I'm saying?
Even
that would be the only legitimate, and then deconstructing systems.
What if I was to throw a curveball and say that everything that we talk about is indirectly moving the people in line of direction of realizing how erroneous contemporary ideologies were? But we don't have to mention the word caliphate, but we're putting people in the mindset of believing that everything belongs to Allah and nothing else.
Then I would say we have an Equality podcast that specializes in gradualism.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, but let me just comment on what you said though. So when you come and say, I'm thinking about that, you say, oh, the main objective of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is to establish the deen of Allah on the earth, right? And they view that as by establishing the Khilafah, right? Meaning that the environment under which Islam could be reign dominant, right? Now, the reason why I kind of have a problem with that is because, like, if you say now when the Khilafah is gone, does that mean that Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his mission failed? Because there's not at all. So what I'm saying is that if you equate having a state with being the purpose of Islam, then you run into that problem, right? Where is it Islam truly being in the world now? Of course it is, but it's not dependent upon a state. I further see it that the thing is to the call of La ilaha illallah. Like the understanding of like once you bring that, for me, I think the eyes of the Aqidah is the most important thing. Like he came to do.
But before you continue, let me say the idea for the Hizb is one of the highest parts of implementation of Aqidah is that Allah's deen, you have to make sure to the best of your ability that Allah's deen is being established in this world, because that's the best way to bear witness that there's none worthy of worship but Allah. They believe right now that we're in emergency mode, and obviously we're all saying La ilaha illallah, we pray, but Islam is not complete right now in this world until that there is an Amir that rules by what Allah has revealed, right? So I understand what you're saying, but it doesn't mean that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam failed. It means that the Muslims are not united, but Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed us what exactly it is to establish Allah's deen in this world. Because if you think about it, look, and this is the part that I agree with them, is that everything that he did in Mecca, the main reason why he went to Medina was to establish Allah's deen. Did it happen haphazardly that they said, oh, you know what, I'm just going to be the statesman here, or the people of Medina say that we want you to be our statesman? Right? And look what Aisha radiallahu anha said. The battle of Bu'ath that happened between Banu Qaynuqa and Banu Nadir. And who was the third tribe?
Al-Awth. No. Banu Qaynuqa, Banu Nadir.
But there was a third tribe. I can't remember right now. So Aisha radiallahu anha said this war was a blessing because all of the main chiefs in the battle of Bu'ath had died, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had paved the way for Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to be the statesman of Medina. And after he became the statesman, then what did he start doing? Yes, he first established the brotherhood. Then he established the masjid. He established institution of justice, right? But then he started writing letters to the rulers, which he never did before. He made it a goal. I'm sending expedition here. I'm sending expedition here. I'm sending expedition here. That's when the Battle of Badr now happens, where they're getting redemption and a certain type of healthy, getting all their stuff back from Banu Sufyan and his and the caravans that he had looted from the Muslims in Mecca, right? And so
wait, let me ask you one thing. So we get that part of the story, but what I'm saying is, like, when he went to Medina, when Musa bin Umar went to Medina, he wasn't looking for the mightiest tribe. He wasn't looking for the one that had most strength, right? I mean, although they would try to make it sound like that's what it was, right? Because how the Hizb will say that, oh, he went to certain tribes and he rejected them because of their weakness, right? But if you look at Al-Aws al-Khazraj, they weren't anything special in the Arabian Peninsula. They were nothing like to be known of. I mean, they were not like.
Again, to be fair, Mazen did mention that, right? He did mention that
they were special.
But what I'm saying is, so no, they weren't. I'm saying among the Arabs, they were not special. I mean, of course, you have Bani Shaybani, people among Bani Shaybani that were special, but among the Arabs, they were not special. They had no main strength. They were not a contention with Quraysh or anybody else, or Ghassan, or none of them. They were not really a big threat to them, right? But this is my problem. Mazen did mention that, but at the same time, then why are we? If Rasulullah ﷺ was okay with accepting them and being able to defend, how he defined as being able to defend him, right, with the little army they had, right, but not being the strongest, then where is this condition that you have to have nusra from the military or people like this who are high in power and mighty for above you to be able to establish a state? I mean, I would say if you really want that, you should go where you're willing, where you're able to do so, right? We're not so much dependent on who's more powerful, because at the end of the day, Islam, when have they ever been a majority in any situation? Every war we fought,
but
we've been a majority.
Where he was in Medina, the people, if you were to convince them, a big portion of Medina would now be supportive of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which were the Aus and the Khazraj, right? It doesn't mean that they had to be the most powerful. It means the people of influence, right? And that's the only way, actually, initially to do something peaceful is to discuss with people in the army or the military who are siding with the Muslims and not with the ruler himself. Let's talk about Egypt, for instance, right? You have people in the military who are completely anti-Sisi.
Yeah.
Right? And you had people who were wanting to do something for the people, but they didn't have a strong leader. So they ended up just following their divisions that happened, and they just ended up following Sisi. But what if there were people that had a legitimate individual and leader that was very, very influential within the army, right? I mean, like, how did Abdul Fattah al-Sisi actually come into power, right? Because he was a general.
Yeah.
Right? So, and that's what happens. Many coups that occur are because of people of influence that are able to pull lots of strings, and they buy into somebody's idea, and they end up either pulling a coup when the president's gone on vacation somewhere, which happens in multiple countries, right? But that happens.
Now, yeah, I mean, I don't know. The reason I don't buy that is because, look, bro, we live in modern time. You think that America or some place will stand by and just be like, "Oh,
no,
okay," right? So making this with those people,
and again, yeah, it's also an online world. Like, you're not gonna be starting something up and like people are gonna be like oblivious to it. Like, you're not gonna have like something percolating in like Bangladesh or Libya.
One thing that the era of COVID-19, what it taught us is that there's very, very minuscule things in this world that will change the entire world, and lots of powers will have no effect, or their hands will be tied because of something else that happens. Nobody ever said, and I don't think Hizb ever claimed, if they did, they'd be foolish. They said that this bringing about of a khilafah is going to be something easy.
No, no one said that.
This is the most daunting task. Imagine how daunting this was for the Sahaba and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Look what he says to Waraqat ibn Nawfal. Waraqat ibn Nawfal, when he goes to him and says, I felt this, I saw this angel, fast forwarding through, and then he says, I wish I was there the day that you're given Nusra, but your people are gonna reject you out of your land. And look how Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked. He says, are they going to kick me out? I'm the person we trust the most. Are they going to run me out of my land? Like, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam never thought this would happen to him, right? So the person who is the most beloved to the people actually had to suffer more than all the prophets probably combined, right? So was this easy for him? What's the wisdom of us talking about the stories that the Sahabi, he lifts up his shirt and he has one stone, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has two stones? It means the person who's spearheading this has to be a true leader, which probably doesn't exist in this world, and he has to be going through twice as much as the people who are following him are.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So this goes back to my point of credibility, and I gotta run because I gotta go eat dinner. It's like almost 11:30.
Yeah. I think we're probably gonna end it over here real quick.
What I was gonna say is that, like, so for example, Sheikh Taqi Nabhani mentioned that one of the downfalls he attributes one of the downfalls of the Ottoman Caliphate is the lack of the Arabic language knowledge, right? So I'm like, I don't even see an emphasis on the Arabic language study by members of Hizb. In fact, I don't know a single Hizb member who is not Arab who knows Arabic. Maybe we know one. I know one brother, and he has credibility because he runs an organization that actually does something.
Yeah, I think amongst their circles, they try to encourage it, but in public, they only have to talk about a few. It's kind of like a marketing thing, right? It's like there's a few things that are hot.
It's like Amway.
You have to be able to talk about those, but in our own closed circles, they actually do encourage it. Just to be completely frank, But I think that there's a lot of change that has to occur as far as methods of just communication. What battles you pick in society, what you pick. Like you said, like the average person shouldn't only be seeing you when it's time for voting.
That's the thing, and to me, like, there's, for example, there's like a well-known Sufi tariqa. It's like, it's global, but they have a strong presence in Chicago, okay? And like, I would say, as someone who's not in their tariqa, I don't go to their gatherings, but I know these brothers, and they have credibility to me because I see they have hufaz, they have people like progressing, they have people who are successful. They're like, for example, they might be working in corporate America, but they're like holding on to the deen, like in a way that you would find. So there's like a respect factor. The problem is that his people don't respect them. Not because they don't disagree with their goal, is because they themselves see him as a bunch of jokers who are just sitting around and, you know what I'm saying? That's where I feel like that has to happen. And I think that's where, like, that's what I was trying to communicate to Mazen. Now, Mazen might have credibility, but he's up in Canada. Listen, we're dealing with people in Chicago. So if someone is, yes, you can control what your laymen say. If you're layman, you could tell your layman, because we have Shiyuk in Chicago. They have people who are pretty educated. They're not allowed to give Jummah khutbah.
That's actually very true.
Your sheikh says you will not give Jummah khutbah. Very
strong point. That's a very, very strong point.
Because bad PR is terrible. Bad PR can set you back ages, right?
They should know the guys that are following them.
Yeah.
If whatever the case is, they have to hush them until they're mature enough. That I agree with 100%. I agree with that 100%. Sorry. Hey, Mort, are you posting this anywhere?
It already is posted, bro.
Posted where?
It's live, bro. It's on live stream.
Live, but where's it going on our YouTube channel?
It's on two YouTube channels, mine and his.
You famous now, bro.
It's not on Mad Mamluks YouTube channel, right?
No, man. We take it over. We stole the audience.
So the reason I'm saying is, look, any brothers that are watching that are HT, I'm telling you right now, I'm not anti-HT. I'm not anti. The older I get, I realize that all these groups, they're here in fruition, and I think they're supposed to be here. Obviously, it's Allah's will, and rather it should get us closer, and it should make us more united, that we could work with each other. And whatever I'm saying, I don't want people to think I'm totally gung-ho pro-HT or I'm completely gung-ho anti-HT. To be honest with you, I love those brothers to death. And if you know those brothers, I know them pretty well. No matter how much they disagree with other groups, like they were talking about Ikhwan and all that kind of stuff, I guarantee you that those brothers, a lot of them are willing to take a bullet for anybody that's Ikhwan or Sufi or whatever the case is. That's one thing I know about those brothers. I know them very well. Do I disagree with them on some issues? Of course. I'm not going to. But like I said, one of the main reasons why I respect them is they make a claim for a goal and they give you a step-by-step way on how to get to that goal, which I don't see any other group doing. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. All right. On that note, we're going to wrap it up because I don't want to take a bullet from Mahin while he...
Wrap it up.
No, they already ate dinner. I got to see what scraps are left. I might have to cook. I might actually have to go cook right now. So,
all right. Well, this has been good. I mean, the first time we did a live stream like separate like this on an easy thing called Yard Stream. So, I think it worked out pretty well. What do you think, Mahin?
Yeah, dope. This StreamYard. Maybe we should do like another good content like this because it's like commentary on a previous podcast, and I think it's a good way to like because Mad Mamluks listeners, I think they still like they haven't gotten a message that you and I have our own thing going, right? Yeah. And that's part of the thing. We also want to like capture. We want to. I mean, and Sim has no problem. He always mentions our shows, right? But people don't know where to find us. So this is a good way for us to like give additional commentary on some of the shows stuff we cover on Mad Mamluks or other stuff.
All right, cool. So, and next time you send me your Sultan and Sneakers icon, I can add it to like a badge, so that's not just my Mad Mamluks thing. I mean, the
Muzzy Buzz. Yeah, I'll send you the image. And I need to get a new logo. I hate my logo, actually. It sucks.
Your logo is pretty dope, actually.
It's cool. I'll be honest. I think it has too much going on. It's a cool logo, but it has a lot of colors going on.
No, the color is fine, but I want like my face almost like on it, but kind of like it's like at least someone take a picture.
An image.
I want an actual picture taken of my face, and then maybe they can like simplify it a little, maybe some sunglasses or something, and then just keep it like simple and sold to the sneakers, right? And not a
whole dude with the jubba and like everything, like
and a ring and everything.
why don't you get your face with like a fitted hat that says shorts and sneakers on it, like a fitted?
I think for me, it's like the guy butchered my face. That's what I don't like. It looks awkward. Like the cartoon version, it looks like weird. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he made you white when you're brown, bro. That's just messed
dude,
up.
he had me even whiter before. This is colorism, I tell you. We covered it. So,
hey, Ward, I like your background. Is that your basement, bro?
Yeah, it's the basement, bro.
MashaAllah, it's beautiful, dude.
All right, sounds good. Hey, I guess we'll see each other on Wednesday for a Mad
Mamluks
live stream.
All right, everybody. Yep, next thing we'll wrap this up. So everybody else, make sure you subscribe to Muzzy Buzz and hit the bell. Make sure you do the same thing for Sultans and Sneakers. He's got his channel. I'll try to put that stuff in the description. You got a few. You want to say anything before we close up, Mahin? Any upcoming stuff you want to say? Anything?
No, man. Everything's good. Everything's
Okay.
you know. I've got a show. I've got a lot of content coming up. I've got an episode with a Republican chairman of the out of Central Ohio coming up this week. And then I've got some other shows. Obviously, people are waiting on the transgender Hafiz episode. Couple other ones. I got Hamza Perez, hip hop artist turned rapper. I mean, Imam in Pittsburgh. Ed Lattimore talking about the 4 levels.
That's the M team guy, right?
I don't remember what he was from, but yeah.
Mujahideen team. I remember him. M team.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Puerto Rican brother, right?
Puerto Rican brother, right. Yeah. So so I've got all these recordings that I'm just like, it's just trying to push it out, but again, try not to like go too hard. Once a week, one a week is good, but video editing is a challenge, of course. So,
all right, Sheikh Amr, Sheikh Amr, any final thoughts maybe before we close this up? Because you're looking goofy as hell right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to be goofy. That's my nickname. I don't have any last words. I'm just wondering where's Sim, bro. I only jumped on here.
Sim was on. He like bounced. As soon as we started talking about HT, he bounced.
Yeah.
All right. Let's call him out on the next roundtable, inshallah.
Yeah, Wednesday, inshallah. All right, guys. Well, that's been a wrap. So, inshallah, we'll see you guys next time. I do a live show every Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 2 p.m. Central Time. Perhaps maybe next week I might get Mahin back on the show. I don't know if he has time or not. But we wanted to talk about something, a different topic. We'll talk about that later. But maybe we'll see if you're cool enough or not. I don't know. Sometimes we do unholy things and we can't have you around because we don't.
Yeah, but maybe in a couple of weeks we'll get. There's a subject maybe we can talk about him.
Yeah, because we bring you back on to balance our to get some ajr and hasana, you know.
So y'all don't know me, bro. Y'all think too highly of me, bro. I'm more.
Because we were talking about some pretty nasty stuff until you came on, and then you kind of just.
As soon as you got on, we like segued into like religious stuff.
So that's why we need you around us, you know. But anyway, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.